Welcome to Season 1 of the Artist Grid Talks, Tag Talks for short, the local Winona community podcast that sheds light on the artists that live and work here in the driftless area. From painters to musicians, you'll hear what it's like to grind like an artist, live like an artist, and make it work as an artist from artists themselves. Join us on our monthly journey to showcase local and regional talent and to find who's creating in your community. So Tanner, why don't you give us a little intro about yourself?
Hello. Hi everybody, my name's Tanner Brethorst. Not an original Winonian, but I've been here long enough, so I kind of feel like I'm one of you.
Where are you from originally?
Two Harbors.
Oh, so way up north.
Yes.
Yeah.
About a half hour north of Duluth there. Yeah. Right on Superior.
Yeah, right with Split Rock, right around that area too.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Gooseberry Falls.
Yeah.
Yep, that's up there. So yeah, even like from moving from there to here was quite a bit of culture shock.
Really?
Yeah.
Like just a smaller town or a bigger town, I guess?
To a bigger town.
Yeah.
So at the time, I think Two Harbors might have had like a few thousand people, you know? I'm like, wow, we're moving to the big city.
What brought you down here?
Oh, it was a family choice.
Okay.
Right.
So were you young then or?
Yeah, I came here when I was like 10,
Okay.
11 years old, something like
sense.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you right off the bat, how did you get Metal Fest going? Like, what was like, how did you discover like, yes, there is a viable metal scene here in Winona, and like, you know, what sparked it, I guess?
Well, so there was a point in time where Alex, Miney, and myself, we were doing a residency at Ed's No Name Bar. We did that for a few years, and we were doing Wednesdays, right? Well, I had just joined Descent of Man, which is also like a funny story in itself, but we can get to that later.
Yeah.
But we had enough working material to play a show, and I'm like, well, there's this bar that we could go play at on a Wednesday if you guys want. And I'm like, the crowd's probably not going to know what the hell's going on, but we could do this anyways. So we showed up and we played, and like the response we got was unexpected, I guess. For two reasons. One, people had no idea that I was in a band like that. Mm-hmm. And two, the actual like engagement of the audience was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we had done that a couple times, and then Nate Gill asked us to come in and play on a Saturday. And I'm like, okay, let's see how this works. You know, we could actually like label this as a metal show. So we started bringing bands down from the cities, and it really took off, and it opened my eyes a little bit, because you would see, you know, people walking around in like metal t-shirts every now and again, and it's like, well, they're here, you know, it's this whole group of people that's kind of being unrepresented. They don't have like an outlet for like the music that they enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, so we started doing shows like that, and it was like once every, I don't know, 3 to 4 months. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna actually try and set something up.
Yeah.
A bigger show. And you know, like this is our second year. It'll be on April 18th, at Ed's No Name Bar. We still haven't really panned out. We have bigger plans too. You know, we want to have like, you know, rent out PI sometime in the summer.
Yeah.
And just bring just the shit show right to town. You know? But yeah, should be a lot of fun.
And with PI, you mean Prairie Island, correct?
Yes, okay. I should specify that.
One to make sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I think from like my standpoint, it's always been so interesting to, you know, I've run sound and I've also attended, but to see, again, just a totally different crowd of people. Like, I feel like a lot of Winona, and you've probably seen this too, is, you know, bluegrass and jam bands.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a predominant, you know, force in the music scene here. And it's fascinating to me to see like all these people come out of the woodworks. Like, I have never seen you in my entire life. I never seen you at the grocery store, never seen you walking around the street. Like, who are you? And like, this is amazing. And I think that's so cool. I love it. Do you guys have a bill set up for April 18th?
Yeah. So I have to like think who's on this. It's ourselves, Macabre, Agony Reigns, Coffin Rites. Ooh, and there's one more. I can't think of at the moment. I could look it up.
Huh?
Could look it up.
We can probably get Danny on that here.
I'm on it.
Yeah. I think,
These guys are headlining.
And where are they from?
They're out of Wisconsin.
Okay.
They're a Prosthetic Records band.
Okay.
Remember the first time I had them come here, I paid them out of pocket.
No shit.
Yeah. I mean, they're like the big touring bands. Like, they're gone for like months at a time.
Yeah.
With all these really big bands, yeah.
I think that's also something that's very cool to me too, is, these aren't like, some of them are local, some of them are around here, but you guys are bringing bigger acts in here too. Like you said, nationally touring, like on the road a lot. I don't know if we get that in any other scene, in Winona as well. Like, those big national touring acts, and that's incredible. Especially, for, again, a scene that I don't think has been represented as accurately as it has, with you jumping on board. It's amazing. I really, really love that this exists and that this is happening.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the full lineup. We have Maul, Agony Reigns, Coffin Rites, Macabre, and then Descent of Man at the end. And you can find this whole lineup at Facebook for searching Winona Metal Fest 2, and that would be II instead of the number 2.
And are you trying to do this just once a year, or are you trying to make it like a quarterly type thing?
This type of thing will be once a year.
Okay.
Because next year in 2021, that's when we're going to try and bring, 7 to 8 bands.
Yeah.
We'll probably work with the same venue.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, get a few sponsors over there.
Yeah.
It's like a food truck, maybe.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And try and have like an all-day thing,
Mm-hmm. I think
It'd
that'd be
a lot of
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
Do you find it interesting to straddle in between like bluegrass and metal at the same time? Like, is that an interesting thing to you, or do you just not even think anything of it?
I don't really think anything of it now.
Yeah.
It's weird how those two genres somehow like coincide with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm mainly talking about bluegrass
Yeah.
metal. There's like drive behind it, there's speed behind it. I mean, there's not like a vocalist like gargling tar.
Yeah.
Like you would find in some of these metal bands, but it is there. And like I think at this point it's like both styles of music has been pretty embedded
Yeah.
in me, I've been playing like bluegrass and or folk music for at this point maybe 15 years. Like it's been a while. And like I guess I've always been a fan of like the whole death metal and crazier than that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's only been like I think this is my 5th year with them.
With metal
Descent of
and Descent of Man, yeah.
Yep.
Was there something that you kind of found first? Was it like you found metal and then like started playing bluegrass, or like was it both around the same time?
Oh, it was kind of around the same time.
Right.
This is like back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the group of friends that I was hanging out with, they would, like, we were kind of going down these rabbit holes of that genre, So it's like we heard, like the big four, like thrash metal stuff, like Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer,
Yeah.
Anthrax. And then someone found Children of Bodom. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I'm like, this is very melodic. It sounds like neoclassical a little bit. There's keyboards. It was just weird and it was awesome
Yeah.
and very intense. And even at that point, it was like, I can't really get behind the vocals, Like I just wasn't really having it.
Mm-hmm.
But that type of stuff grows on you in
Yeah.
like a weird, really weird way. People are really confused when they drive around with me in a car.
I can only imagine what your mixtapes look like.
Oh yeah, they're a nightmare. Old country to like soul to funk, and then just to straight nasty death metal. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
That's kind of what it's about, though. I don't know. I feel like as I grow older, I keep finding more enjoyment in different music, and like to learn like the little intricacies of like what makes this work. Like what's, I don't know, all the little details. I think is fascinating. Like listening to some of the neo soul stuff and like hearing how far behind the beat they are on stuff, and then like hearing the absolute like precision on like metal bands, like that's a totally different genre, but somehow still in the same realm of like commanding time. Having that rhythmic accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, so like when I first started Descend of Man, I had never picked up a bass before in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, it's a fretted instrument. Like the information is transferable in some way.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't use a pick, like period. So that was already really weird.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause like I played fingerstyle guitar, So I like showed up. So like, okay, we could even just bend into this story a little bit.
Yeah.
So I had known Patrick Holohan. He's the guitar player from Descend of Man. I'd known him for a while through another band from back in the day called Harbinger. And they were kind of like a progressive metal band.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into him downtown at Ed's, actually. We were both pretty drunk. We were like talking out back. And he's like, yeah, we've been trying to find like a bass player for a while. I'm like, oh, well, I could try and play bass bar, And, he like held me to it. And he's like, do you want to come up and, try playing bass? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
See how this goes, It was really odd because like, we were going at like 75% of the actual speed to even down to like 25%.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that at the time. So I'm like, oh, I'm picking this up pretty easily. This is awesome. He's like, yeah. All right, let's try it, like at full pace. I'm like, oh, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't do that. And, like I started to be able to like catch on a little bit. It took a while, honestly. And now, the reason I'm thinking of this, because it's reminding me of like when I first started, because Patrick just wrote this song, and he like bled into like another subgenre of like technical melodic death metal.
Mm-hmm.
So like instead of playing like a normal riff, like it's a riff, but it's just notes. He's not like holding a note for like any period of time. It's like he's pretty much soloing.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, God, I don't even remember what the BPM was. It was far too fast.
Yeah.
And like I've been practicing this for like 3 weeks now, and like I just got the A segment up to speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It like hurts my left hand.
Yeah.
To play this.
It's always fun too, like, from bass player to bass player of like, you start learning something and it's like, oh god, this hurts. And like, it's slowing stuff down and just kind of getting the muscle memory there, and then like trying to get it faster. It's like, it's interesting because you can see that progression, and then you're like, oh, I'm doing it. And then like you maybe come back the next day and like try it again, and it's like, I'm still not there yet. And it's just like, progression isn't linear, but it's definitely improving,
Yeah. Hills and plateaus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely the case. So I've been trying pretty hard to get this down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to like hammer out as many new songs as possible, because now we have this new vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
We plan to go in and do our first full length eventually.
Yeah.
Like hopefully like sometime in the summer and or fall.
Yeah. And didn't I just see that you guys got signed to a label? Or am I...
That was ZBR, Zero Budget Records, and that was from a while ago. We're like low key right now working with a management group out of Canada.
Okay.
It's not like set in stone yet, but it's someone that Eric knew from one of his previous bands.
Okay.
So we're like hoping to use this individual to help us get onto like a big tour this fall.
Are you guys trying to plan like a nationwide type thing, or like regional, or?
It'd be nationwide.
Okay.
For about 2 weeks.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Do you guys have cities that you guys want to go to, or?
There's like cities that I would like to go to. I'm not sure about, like we've talked about it. I don't know. A lot of the southern states I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the East Coast. But I think just because of like the time frame and like the time of year, I'd probably want to go south.
Yeah. The nice thing about the East Coast though is you have all those cities all clustered. Like Boston is like, 2 hours from New York City.
Right.
It's so easy just to jump from spot to spot, but it's still kind of a
instead of like
getting out there is the hard part. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like the 8-10 hour drives that you have to do to get out there, and then you're there, and you can just puddle jump essentially. But
yeah, because you were out there with Sleeping Jesus, correct?
yeah, we went out to Philly and New York, and came back this way. But
okay.
yeah, Philly to New York is 2 hours, pretty smooth drive, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's all right there.
How was that?
That was a ton of fun. Playing out in Brooklyn, overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge, was just like,
oh man,
this is the coolest moment of my entire life. Like,
yeah.
I can't say it was a dream of mine because I never dreamed I could play in New York City. Like, it was never something on my radar. And that was bizarre doing that.
Just a subconscious bucket list type of thing going on?
Yeah. It was, doing it was like, again, like, had I thought of this, I would have dreamed of it, but it was never conceivable to me in any way. So, I don't know. It was a straight up joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danny, what you got?
I'd like to pick your brain a little bit about the Dust Settlers.
Oh,
that's something I enjoy. I mean, I'd go down to Ed's and see you guys just playing in the back patio. Even if you weren't on stage, you'd be making some good tunes out there.
Is Mighty still in town?
He's up in the cities.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you guys still playing at all?
Yeah, we just played. Our last show was in December.
All right.
We played at Ed's. We were with our buddies in the Golden Strings, which is Tim Foss and Josh Raby.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this just stellar group of old-time musicians come down. It was actually kind of like a weird like mashup hybrid between like old-time and bluegrass.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that was because of the style of the banjo playing. So he'd play 3-finger style, but he would use that to melodically play the fiddle tunes.
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful, and I loved
Interesting.
it. Yeah.
Danny,
they
I'm
were
trying to
called
catch you up there,
Steam
by the way.
Machines.
Steam Machine?
Yes.
From the cities.
Yep.
I like
So
that
I'd
name.
suggest anyone listening to them to check them out and Golden Strings.
Hell yeah.
both
Danny, I
pretty
definitely
awesome.
cut you off there.
Oh, that's all right. Do you have any folk music ambitions coming up? Or
Ooh, man. I haven't really talked about this with anybody yet. Yeah, I'm starting it's a solo project under the name Lavender Field.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be in the stylings of like vetiver. If any of you are familiar with vetiver. It was a folk project started by Andy Kabik back in 2004 out in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, he is, like, to this day, one of, like, I don't know, to me, the best, like, composers out there for music. The stuff he writes, like, hits you on such a crazy level.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to, like, drag you emotionally through a song, which I really like.
Do you mean that lyrically or both, like, musically?
Oh, both, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a song called Angel Share. I haven't stopped listening to it in, like, 12 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to add that to my list of things to check out.
Yeah.
Did you guys find... you can go ahead. I jumped in there. Yeah.
No. I was just, going to say... So, yeah, the project is going to more or less be, like, in the stylings of vetiver.
All right.
You know, slow, folky kind of stuff. Yeah.
I always... it was always a joy for me going out to see the Dust Settlers on Wednesdays, and I always loved, like... Number one, I thought you guys always brought in, like, good covers and great arrangements, but just, like, some of the moodier ones on, like, a Wednesday and, like, Dead of Winter was always like, oh, yeah, this is what I want. Like...
Those, almost cryptic, like, old-time numbers, those mountain tunes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It can make you feel a certain way, too, honestly.
Yeah.
And one of the cool parts about that in general is, like, the preservation of music, because, like, if you're doing it correctly, at least with old-time music, you're playing it the same way that it's been played for 150, 200 years.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like you're literally bringing back a piece of the past to share with others.
Yeah.
You know? Musical history. It's neat to me. And that's why, like, there's a festival called Clifftop. It's out in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, like, people that will come down from the mountain to, like, share their music. And, like, maybe this is some old gentleman or some older woman who might be in their 70s, 80s, something like that. And they might know the only version of said song. and if they don't pass on that information, then it dies with them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That's
So, like,
fascinating.
there's, like, I've had a really weird draw to that. Like, I always even, like, considered being, like, a song catcher as a career. Like, just to go, like, deep in the hills and start, like, preserving all this music
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
It's kind of fascinating, like, with the overall, like, classical music or, church music versus, like, folk music. Because that's a pretty common trend throughout history. You know, it's, in a way, not even in a way, it's the stories. You know, it's
Absolutely.
the stories of the areas that are passed down musically. And that's, the knowledge that's built. I love that idea of song catcher is a great term. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that, did you come up with that, or is that just, like, a common...
It's a running term.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful concept.
Yeah. If you want to see something that's, like, strictly dedicated to that, there's a movie called Songcatcher, and it's, like, specifically about that.
Yeah.
So this woman gets a grant from this university she's working at to go and try and find, or she, like, finds out that there's all these, like, English songs and all these, tunes that were presumed to be gone.
Yeah.
That were, like, still alive and well and being played and or sang the same way that they were when they, like, before they crossed the ocean.
Yeah.
It's just, like, deep in the mountains.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so she just went out there with her wagon and this massive machine to go and record music, or she would go out there and literally write note for note as, like, the woman would sing these old hymns and stuff like that. And it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. Mm-hmm. Do you have a song that you feel like, like, holy hell, like, I can't believe I found this for you?
Oof, man. When it comes to, like, old-time music, probably Pretty Polly. Because, like, what's a way to put this exactly? So a lot of folk music, in general, is, like, adultery, murder, and, like, sorrow. And then there's, like, the 10% there that's, like, happy-go-lucky. And you can find them. They're peppered in there. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the case. Like, a lot of this stuff, they were talking about the trials and tribulations of, like, themselves, their neighbors, like, maybe their neighbor, like, died in a fire, like, their cabin just lit up and no one could get there because couldn't cross that mountain to get to them. Mm-hmm. But Pretty Polly was essentially, like, this undying love that Willie had for Polly. And Polly wouldn't take him, so, he stabs her through the heart and, like, buries her out in the meadow, essentially, with all the birds were the only witnesses.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's, like, a beautifully haunting song.
Yeah.
And it's played in a tune called mountain tuning, or whatever, so it kind of gives it this eerie kind of minor feel to it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think it's probably my favorite.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's...
So we're sitting down with Tanner Brethorst from Descent of Man, The Dust Settlers, a new podcast, Two Halves Make a Whole, and the starting founder for Winona Metal Fest. Before we continue, we would like to take a minute to talk about one of the supportive organizations partnered with Tag Talks. This episode's sponsor is Carpet Booth Studios. Carpet Booth Studios is a production and recording studio in Rochester, Minnesota, providing high-quality studio with top-notch gear, design spaces, trained engineers and producers, and a comfortable and professional atmosphere. Reach out to Zach Zern and Carpet Booth Studios on Facebook or at their website, www.carpetbooth.com. Now, Tanner, we had mentioned that you're starting a new podcast here. Want to give us a little intro and a taste of what that's about? Is this a creative outlet?
Yeah, sort of. It's we don't know what we're doing yet, right? So we have one episode up right now. It's like 30 minutes or so. And then we just went on to Ask Reddit, and we were just, like, firing off what we thought were the funny questions to ask each other, that type of thing. And then my buddy Mike yesterday, he's like, "Oh, I have this idea. We have to go shoot it right now." And we end up going to, like, his work, and we're back there, and he's got this bag, and he opens it, and I'm, like, looking at him, like, dude, what is this? There's, like, dog food in here. There's, like, cat food. You have, like, weird, gross-looking oysters and kipper snacks and all this stuff. I'm like, what's happening? You know, like a little scared. And he's like, well, I thought like we would just like eat a bunch of weird food. I'm like, some of this isn't even like for humans, dude. So we did that, and like, I don't know, I freaked out on camera a few times. Yeah, we don't really have like a direction per se. I don't know, we're just kind of having fun.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
that's
Yeah.
everything it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you can find that on YouTube, correct?
Yep, YouTube or Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, two halves make a whole.
I think you have everything on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. So like a page for Metal Fest, a page for Dust Settlers, a page for Descended Man, and a page for Two Halves Make a Whole.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. It's all found on there.
Perfect. And are you guys on any other medias too?
Well, Mike made like a TikTok. I don't even really know what that is exactly. He made one for the metal band and for this little podcast series that we're doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And his Descended Man is on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oh, yeah. We're on there too. I guess we're on Spotify and all this other stuff.
Want to make sure we
streaming services.
Tell people how to find you too.
I would have to like think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with you joining, I don't think everyone from Descended Man is in Winona.
No.
Right.
3 of the 4 of us are.
Right.
Our old vocalist Dave, he was in the cities, and our new vocalist Eric is also in the cities. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, like the string sections plus percussion, like we meet up about weekly. Mm-hmm. Eric's been coming down quite a bit recently, just to try and get everything smoothed over.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, you hear the pupper? This dog's so awesome.
I've never seen anyone or Mr. Boy take to anyone so quickly.
I think this is the first episode that Mr. Boy has made an appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, if you hear any whining and crying, it's because he is not being pet enough, apparently. Yeah. He's currently climbing the couch.
Yeah.
So, with Eric coming down a lot more, how is that? How do you guys feel? Like, I feel like this is a whole new chapter for you guys going forward.
Yeah, it absolutely is. At least for me personally, like I'm digging it a lot.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Eric's a good guy. He's putting in a lot of work right now.
That's amazing.
Trying to smash through all this material that we have for him.
Yeah.
You know, like all the songs that we already have written to like having him write songs right now.
Yeah.
You know, so we have 2 more for him.
Yeah.
That he has to like try and structure and figure out on top of the already pretty tall laundry list of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's taking it head on, so I'm psyched about it.
Are you guys going to keep any of the older material with previous vocalist, or are you guys doing all new stuff from here on out?
We're gonna still have all the stuff from the previous vocalist.
Right.
We're definitely preserving everything that Dave did.
Yeah.
With the band, he was a massive part of what this band was.
Yeah.
You know, stylistically, the whole tone to it. Mm-hmm. What we even represented.
Yeah.
You know, it was his voice.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's definitely gonna live on.
And I remember at one of your shows, I remember him saying like, "Oh, this song is about Syria, like the kids in Syria and what they're going through." Do you guys find a lot of political like points in lyrically, or
That's all we talk about.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, it's like pretty much how we're driving the earth into the ground, and we're just yelling at you about it. You know what I mean? Whether or not you can understand Dave, the lyrics are there, and yeah, like the stuff's powerful.
Yeah.
You know, then you add very aggressive music to it, and it just kind of it goes from screaming at you to like hitting you.
Yeah.
You know, hence like a mosh pit. So
Yeah.
you can get that stuff out. And Eric is, he's kind of carrying on that torch, writing about similar stuff.
I love that.
You know, yeah. So we don't talk about like gross stuff all the time. Like it's in there because some of like what's going on like in the planet's not pretty.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not gonna hide it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So April 18th, are you guys playing any more in between there, or kind of just getting up to speed?
Not before that.
Right.
Yeah. Afterwards, we're in the process right now of setting up a bunch of stuff throughout the area, either in Minnesota or like surrounding states, stuff like that. We're actually going to be doing a run a little run with our buddies in H1Z1.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not until it's one of the J months. It's June or July. I can't remember. I'd have to look.
Hopefully not January.
Yeah, no, I know. I would have pretty much shit the bed on that one. We'll wait. Yeah.
Do you find that the trend with, you talked about like kind of the gritty surrealism of like, or realism of where we are, that's a huge focal point of Descent of Man.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, Bluegrass, some of the lyrics that you were talking about with Pretty Polly, it is also in that same vein, kind of like, these gritty realities that we see.
Hardships, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that as like a connecting point for you of like...
Yeah, it's definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've like thought about that a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, even for like that music, like, so I'll go off the deep end with metal. You know what I mean? Or like names I probably shouldn't even say like over the air.
Yeah.
Like I listen to some of this stuff at work. You know what I mean? And it's like they humor me. I know they do because like I play it loud.
Yeah.
I'll listen to Sleeping Jesus at work too. They dig that. They dig that way the hell more than, like Necrotic Gore Beast and stuff like that. Which case they're really crazy. That's a band that like I was gonna actually bring this up. I wasn't even sure how to like work it into a conversation exactly, but I guess this is a good enough segue as any.
Yeah.
To those out there who like maybe you're just starting to listen to metal and you found like Metallica, like the big four, like I brought up earlier. And you were going through like the same type of thing that I did, where it's like the vocals make no sense in the stuff that's getting heavier. It's like, why do you sound like that? That's dumb. And in which case, like, yeah, that took a long time. But what I will say, don't seek out that type of music just to listen to first. Like, go find a show. Like, experience that type of thing live. Because it's going to put a whole entirely different perspective on it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you're feeling, like, that weird primal, like, aggression. And not necessarily, like, a violent aggression. But,
no, not at all.
When the music's so loud that it's literally, like, shaking your ribcage.
Yeah.
It's, like, it's amazing experience, So, yeah, give that a try.
I think one of the other things, too, that I've always found so endearing about the Metal Nights is, you'll see a mosh pit, but if someone falls, like, they're getting picked up.
You get really hurt.
Yeah. Well, like, more of, everyone made sure, like, you're here with us to have a good time. Like, we all want to mosh, but we ain't trying to hurt you.
Safe.
Like, we're going to make sure you're good. You pick them up. I always find that so... it's not a dichotomy, I don't think, but it's kind of interesting of like, like very heavy metal music, you see a pit open up, and it's like, there's still that, like, hey, we're all here to have a fun time. Like, no one's getting hurt tonight. Like, we're here for each other, I love that environment. And every time I've run it, it's always been, some of the nice people of like me trying to navigate through a crowd, to do sound stuff. And, people have always been so pleasant. It's a wonderful, I think dichotomy might be the right word, of like heavy metal music and just like straight unbridled kindness.
Yeah, it's definitely there. That also, like, just a disclaimer for people that are listening to this. That is incredibly true, what you said. But you also have to be careful with the subgenres and the type of shows that you're going to. Because there's like a weird internal war going on that people like outside of like a metal community probably don't even know that's happening right now. There's a genre out there called hardcore, right? It's been around for like a long time, like early 90s, maybe even late 80s. But that's, you have pit ninjas and stuff like that, like people kicking and punching, and then you have people that crowd kill, which are literally like people that are just trying to watch the show and they're like getting attacked.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's garbage. Don't do that. but it's like there's a weird thing going on for like a long time, and it still is. There's a reason why like I won't bring bands like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to town here. We actually brought one, but there wasn't that type of fan base that was there, which was good.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried about it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because there were like a few times where, like even the Ed show from like a while ago got kind of dicey. And it's because there was a band, their like vocalist quit. Then they like found somebody on the fly that like learned their material real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like he was from a grindcore group, right? And that's like very, very, very aggressive music.
Mm-hmm.
And they opened the night, and I remember he like just like they started a song, and he immediately jumps off the stage at Ed's, and he's like just running into people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, okay, that's not that unheard of,
Yeah.
you know. But he was really drunk. Like he was getting drunk on the way. Luckily, he wasn't driving.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up like smashing into somebody. They almost got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of those type of close calls, you know. And he like ran on stage and like nosedived, and like he was just bleeding everywhere, and like he didn't even miss a beat. He just like blew it into his hand, did this, and like kept going. And it's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember like looking at Nate because he was bartending and he's just staring at the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, we're never doing this again. You know, like that was like my first thought. So I think that was like our first weekend show actually.
Yeah.
Was that show. And like I remember afterwards, like Nate came up and he's like, do we need to do this again? I'm like, okay. All right, thank you. Like I'm going to be really, really careful, you know, about who I bring.
Yeah.
You know. So I want everyone that goes to feel safe. I don't want, it's not on my radar.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Again, I love, I've loved running sound for those. Again, everyone's just professional in the bands that I've worked with. Like, yeah, everyone knows, you know, exactly what they need to do and when, and it's a joy in that way of, you know, changing drum sets can be sometimes a lot of work, but man,
yeah,
you guys doing like, you know, with metal bands, you guys, drums are a huge part of the sound. So like, obviously, you know, you need to have your set, and I totally understand that. But like, I don't think you will ever see anyone move faster in the entire world than a drummer who needs to set up in between like a 15-minute break in a metal band. It is impressive.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And normally it's like the rest of the band will just help grab all the drummer's stuff.
Yep.
You know, so then he can get it all situated up there, and yeah, it was a spectacle. I remember like the first show that I played with that band, it was after like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I was like kind of prepared. You know what I mean? That was a weird one because we played at the Root Note.
Really?
Yeah. It was like us and then like hip hop groups. It was a really interesting night.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But that was like the first time that I'd seen Mike like bring his drums up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. I was like, what in the hell, dude? Like, you're moving way too quick.
Usain Bolt has nothing on any metal drummer in between his set. It's like a sprint while also carrying all your gear.
Yeah, right. Everything's so heavy, dude.
And then you also have like, you know, drum triggers, things like that, which is,
Yep.
you know, a whole other
Our drummer
element.
uses that.
Yeah.
Yeah, kick triggers.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we are probably right where we want to be for time wise.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm so happy we finally got to sit down and talk to you and kind of pick your brain about some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Again, I think what you've done with Metal Fest is amazing. I've always loved the Dust Settlers. I'm excited to hear the new stuff. I'm excited about your podcast. Man, I think you're on top of it. I think the way you're handling everything is just brilliant.
Well, thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure being here.
We're glad that you caught this episode of Tag Talks with Tanner Brethorst from The Dust Settlers, Descent of Man, the new podcast Two Halves Make a Whole, and Winona Metal Fest. Check the links in the description below or check out Tanner's work on Facebook and explore what else we do at www.theartistgrid.com or find us on Facebook at The Artist Grid.